Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, believe it or not, we're going to be doing some primary analysis today for the midterms, which is crazy because we haven't really done that in almost a month because we have one more primary, one more kind of like a mini Super Tuesday that's going to be taking place with some northeastern states, much of which is not going to be super consequential. Obviously, you have Delaware, you have Rhode Island. It's not likely Republicans will win anything there outside of possibly the 2nd District, where Alan Fung probably will win that primary too. But the governorship primary, that's going to be going on. We'll monitor the results, obviously, but it's probably going to go Democrat in the general. However, in the state of New Hampshire, it is very clear that there are some competitive races for Congress as well as for the Senate race there. Maggie Hassan's the current incumbent. She's going to be facing some opposition on the Republican side, and could she potentially be vulnerable? I think the answer is to a degree, even if she is favored right now. And we're going to go through the primary slate in this video. We're going to analyze the polls, look at it. But first, I have to tell you guys about my very good friends over at Support the Second Coin. You guys know it better than anybody else that our Second Amendment is under attack in this country by the Democrats and the left. So what better thing to do than to support gun owners, gun rights, and the Second Amendment by getting your Second Amendment coin entirely free for a limited time from the link in the pinned comment. Just pay for shipping and you get the coin for free. It's a promotion to celebrate the grand opening of the website, and all orders are fulfilled within 24 hours on average, so act now. The link is in the pinned comment down below. So, New Hampshire, we're not going to focus on Delaware because nothing really big is happening there. We could go over and gloss over Rhode Island a little bit more because we know that in the 2nd Congressional District, it was very, very close compared to years past in 2020. Robert Lancia, who's running again in the primary, although he's not the favorite, he is running again, and he only fell short by around 16.5 points or so. And Langevin was an entrenched incumbent. The district is redder now by a few points more so. I believe it was like Biden +9 or something like that. It's a D+4 PVI in the Cook PVI. And this is a race that potentially could flip come November. A lot of people have hyped up former Cranston Mayor Alan Fung. He has a lot more resources than Lancia. He has a lot more funding. I probably like Lancia more on the issues. Fung is kind of sort of a, rhino when he was running for governor back in 2014. He might try to pivot a little bit to the right in the primary like this. I don't really trust him, but either way, you could get your own, like, I guess you would say, Republican representing a safe or a traditionally blue district in Rhode Island. Either way, I think Lancia might even be able to win the district if he wins the nomination, but either way, we'll see. But Rhode Island's not that competitive besides the 2nd District there, which means that we have to focus talking about New Hampshire because this is a Senate race that is high profile and is going to be close that we have not yet fully covered. Maggie Hassan is the current senator. She's not super popular. She barely got by in 2016 over Kelly Ayotte, and that's when she was the incumbent governor. Her favorables in a lot of the polls we've seen have not really been super high. I don't really trust a lot of these, governor's approval polls or senator approval polls that don't come from like actual pollsters before an election. And even then, we don't really trust them too much because we know how awful those polls can be. But the approval polls you see on like SurveyMonkey or Morning Consult or whatever, I call them Morning Compost because they're just garbage. Like, I really don't put too much stock into them because they've been proven wrong so many times, time and time again. But what we do know is that Maggie Hassan is vulnerable even in these polls. You have a lot of Democrat internals. In most polls, she is below 50%. And this was after the Dobbs decision as well. This was after Republicans in the generic ballot started to quote-unquote like slide down because, we understand the election mafia does what they do. There's the summer response bias, etc. These things are all real. And Maggie Hassan had a lead over Don Bolduc, who's the Republican frontrunner, by just 4 points. And do I think Bolduc is the best fit for New Hampshire? I've said in the past, I don't. And it has nothing to do with, he's too Trumpian at all. It's just because I know how voters in New Hampshire vote. They're not really the biggest fans of interventionists and hawks. When Bush won the state in 2000, he was actually running to the non-interventionist side compared to how Al Gore was running. Obviously, nobody really remembers that. People don't think about that because Bush is now viewed as like the face of, warmongering neoconservatism in this country, and rightfully so given his tenure, but that's not how he ran his campaign. But when the presidency ramped up, he lost New Hampshire by a decent amount. And yes, Nader did play a role in that as well. But look at 2016. You look at Trump, he ran a very non-interventionist campaign. He got within a couple of points in 2016 in New Hampshire. And they don't like incumbent presidents very well, which is why I firmly believe that the Biden disapproval could carry a Republican, even if it is like Bolduc, depending on the national environment. But as of right now, I would say Hassan is favored. It would be lean D over Bolduc. However, it's not like the other candidates in this race are really super appealing. You have Chuck Morse, who I believe was the former state, he led one of the state chambers in the legislature, and he actually, you could even say, is like a little bit more electable now, mainly because of resources and things like that. I'm not going to take the whole electability thing. I'm not going to say I prefer Morse because Morse is electable. I'm disillusioned with both of them for different reasons. You have Bolduc, who went out there and basically said he wanted troops on the ground in Ukraine. He was being a hawk. And yes, he walked it back to a certain extent for the primary, as he's kind of had to. But given his past credentials and past stances on foreign policy, I would not be surprised if he decides to go to the Senate and just cave on that issue. Obviously, foreign policy is really only one issue, but in terms of finding a viable candidate, you need somebody like a Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, probably more, better than Rand Paul on the issues, especially on immigration. You can get somebody like that, like a Thomas Massie in there in New Hampshire, because it fits the more like libertarian identity of the state. Okay, get a paleo-libertarian in there, not a Lolbert. We know that, but we don't really see a candidate like that in the race. And it is going to come down to Morse and Bolduc. If you look at the primary polling that we've seen so far for the primaries, Don Bolduc is leading every primary. Chuck Morse is gaining traction. He's got a lot of money. He got the Chris Sununu endorsement. That might help among like independents, but in terms of Republican voters and the Republican base, that's not going to help. Chris Sununu is now despised among the Republican base. He's probably going to win in November because of Democrats that will cross over and vote for him, just like Phil Scott or Charlie Baker or any of these other northeastern states that have liberal Republican governors. And Sununu, for a while, he wasn't that bad. He was weak on a lot of issues, but he still supported Trump, and he was, quietly okay. But then you saw the COVID response by him, a lot of mandates, and then you saw him turn on Trump on a dime and just start trashing him. And now he's like on every issue, like whether it's the fact that he vetoed a ban on CRT, he's doing everything he possibly can do to try and appear more liberal at this point than Phil Scott, which is very hard to do because Phil Scott is objectively, you could say, even to the left of Biden. And if he loses this fall, I'm not going to care. In fact, it'd be pretty funny because all the rhinos will throw a temper tantrum. But that's really beside the point. What we do know is that we look at this and we see Don Bolduc in the lead. It's kind of a proxy war regardless, even though Bolduc is weak on some issues for the primary. Trump is not endorsed. He's probably not going to endorse. Obviously, it's too late. But Bolduc is kind of that MAGA-based candidate. Chuck Morse is somebody who is more establishmentarian. He's been around in politics for a while. And even though Bolduc is very flawed and I don't really trust him too much, if he wins the primary, it's still a proxy war victory for Donald Trump and his influence and his movement, especially in an open primary like New Hampshire. And if you're talking about Trump running in 2024 and having any challengers against him that are super viable, you're just downright laughable because it's not true. You see it here in primaries in New Hampshire even. So we'll see when the final results come in. Either way, I think this is going to be lean D. You could argue that Morse is a little bit more electable. He'll have more resources. The state party will probably help him a little bit more. But either way, it is what it is. And Chuck Morse is not really that good on a whole lot of issues. And Bolduc has flaws too. So that's really my take on the Senate primary and the Senate race there. We have to talk about the congressional seat here as well, because this is a competitive race. It's going to be in the 1st district here. Chris Pappas is a very vulnerable incumbent, especially in this year. This district voted, close to 50-50 or so in the 2020 election. It's a new district. Republicans can easily win it. And this is going to come down to Matt Mowers and Caroline Leavitt. And you could look at the endorsement slate here of these candidates. Matt Mowers has been endorsed by a lot of neocons and a lot of, corporate conservatives. He's been endorsed by Citizens United, Kevin McCarthy, Nikki Haley, and Mike Pompeo. Big red flags right there. He only falls short regarding the fact that he doesn't have the Dan Crenshaw endorsement. That would be the trifecta of neoconservatism, but he doesn't have that. Then you have Caroline Leavitt, who's, better on the issues, has better endorsements. I wouldn't say her endorsement slate is entirely perfect either, if we're going to just be real. But she's got arguably better endorsements. And if she defeats Matt Mowers, that would also be a victory because she's better than him from what I've seen. And Matt Mowers, you look at who's supporting him, you look at what he supported in the past, he's going to be a run-of-the-mill establishment neocon. And that might hurt him in a general election in New Hampshire because New Hampshire is not a neocon state at all. I wouldn't say they're like a Trumpian state either. They're kind of a very weird state when it comes to voting patterns, but somebody like Leavitt would do a lot better in that district than somebody like Matt Mowers, and that is so true. So either way, we'll monitor the situation. I will be streaming tomorrow. It will be another primary stream. I've not streamed in a very long time. It's been, a couple weeks here. I'm switching around the studio a little bit, so my face is not likely going to be in the stream. But either way, it's going to be a good, informative stream. Make sure to pop in tomorrow when you get a chance, when we start streaming, probably at around, when did the polls close? I think the polls close at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. Out of some of these states. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.